the Freedom Caucus and Matt Gaetz are really causing problems for Kevin McCarthy because he can be voted out by a single member. He's bending over backwards to please the Freedom Caucus. Imagine if this was the squad doing the same thing to Nancy Pelosi. That was called force the vote. Because if you hadn't heard, Kevin McCarthy and Matt Gaetz have been really kind of going at it. The reporting from all over cable news is that Kevin McCarthy is weak, and he's being shown weak because he has to kowtow. He has to pander to the small people. Just imagine if all of this was in reverse and it was Nancy Pelosi. Nancy Pelosi Fox News is saying this. Nancy Pelosi is having to pander to these crazy left radicals. And they got her bringing up votes on defund the police. They want her to bring up votes on, cutting the military budget in half. Why aren't we hearing this? Isn't that what the whole idea of the squad was about? That's what I thought the squad was about. But for some reason, Freedom Caucus is doing it, and they're extracting things that we don't necessarily want. But you see what could have been done in the reverse. So I'm meshing this one with another topic, which is the Matt Gaetz, because it's part of the receipts for the topic of how you should be going at your leader. We're going to go ahead and pivot to Matt Gaetz. So here's Matt Gaetz going on mainstream media. Now, replace Matt Gaetz with AOC and replace Kevin McCarthy with Speaker Pelosi for this conversation, for this short clip. It's less than a minute.
Speaker, he seems to be implying that you are not doing these things for the reasons you say, but that you were requesting, or perhaps through other people requesting, some special handling or treatment in the ethics complaint. You're saying that's a lie tonight.
That is an abject lie from a sad and pathetic man who lies to hold on to power. He lied to get power in January when he made this agreement.
Imagine AOC. That is a sad and pathetic lie. I forget, what was the phrasing he used about? He said something, oh man.
Abject lie from a sad and pathetic man who...
From a sad and pathetic woman. This could be AOC, or this should be AOC, the way she should be speaking and having an interview about the conflict she's having with the speaker if they force a vote the way they should.
Lies to hold on to power. He lied to get power in January when he made this agreement, and he's lying now about the basis for breach. And you know what? Eventually, the lying has to come to an end, and the votes are going to start on a motion to vacate. I certainly hope that instead of that path, the speaker comes into compliance on term limits, balanced budgets, and...
You see that? You see how, what I like about what they did is they have markers. Oh, you're not meeting this marker, sir. It's time for us to start talking about bringing up this vote. Why can't we get people who are for good policy, who have this burn the barnyard strategy? That's what we want. That's what the movement needs. Why can't we get that on the left? Instead, we get weak milquetoast people like Bernie Sanders and AOC and all of the rest of the squad. All right, so let's continue with another clip, and this is more discussion. Now we're kind of mixing the segment with Matt Gaetz versus Kevin McCarthy, with Matt Gaetz and the Freedom Caucus making the squad look like weak morons, and that's the first clip. I want to do the short ones first. So here's another shorter one. This is 2 minutes. Let's listen to this one. Let's just listen. She's a Republican. They're putting her on the spot, and they're asking her about how Matt Gaetz is putting the screws to Kevin McCarthy. Let's listen.
So you've seen Matt Gaetz come out, not just Matt Gaetz, but he most loudly and prominently saying that he's going to push to oust McCarthy, motion to vacate. Could you see yourself under any circumstances supporting a motion to vacate?
It hasn't happened yet, and I'm not going to, comment on conjecture here. Either he's going to file it or he's not. If he's going to do it, put his money where his mouth is. I do hear that some votes might be up for grabs because people were made promises that have not been kept.
What about your vote? Is it up for grabs? Could you?
We'll
support that
see
effort?
how it turns out, but I will tell you, I'm one of those members who were made certain promises. I've worked on women's issues. I've worked on issues, related to gun violence I feel are very important. And, it's fallen on deaf ears. And if I give a handshake to someone, I expect them to follow through with it.
Wow, so you don't rule out supporting that. Do you think?
I might, you know what? Everything's on the table at this point for me because I want to do the right thing for the American people. I want to do the right thing for women. I'm trying to show here's a path forward for women post-Roe, for birth control, for women who are rape survivors, et cetera. My district is no stranger to gun violence, to mass shootings. There are things that we can do to keep our communities safe and follow the Constitution at the same time. We should be able to walk and chew gum at the same time. We ought to be able to work hard for the American people and show them that. And here we are facing a government shutdown. And really, what have we accomplished this year?
So do you think McCarthy's going to be Speaker of the House at the end?
He didn't hear none of that.
I do think he will continue to be Speaker, but I do think it's going to be a long rest of the year.
And shutdown? Are you expecting one?
I am expecting a shutdown. But again, what most America doesn't know, the majority of the government will be operating, will be working. And I've talked to some federal employees that don't really mind it because they're going to get a vacation, they're going to get time off, but then they're going to get back pay. And so they're not really grumbling about a government shutdown. It's more than meets the eye.
Of course, there's uncertainty, though. I think that's what troubles a lot of government employees.
So, again, there's a lot of things we're kind of analyzing all at the same time. We're analyzing how this fight between Kevin McCarthy and Matt Gaetz and freedom caucus and Matt Gaetz, while at the same time analyzing how if the squad had forced a vote, they would be in this exact position. The only difference is they will be trying to extract what we would call good things. You would be having Cori Bush on saying, yeah, I was promised some things too, like a vote on defund the police. And I'm not saying I'm in the camp. I'm just saying I was promised some things too by the speaker that hasn't happened. Imagine that if they forced a vote. Instead, we have the Freedom Caucus trying to, with these reactionary policies, but the strategy is effective. Let's continue with another clip here. I'm trying to keep this short because I know there's a lot of clips of him speaking and cussing him out a lot longer. Let's first do this clip down clip or slim down clip. This is 22 seconds of him talking about him.
I rise today to serve notice. Mr. Speaker, you are out of compliance with the agreement that allowed you to assume this role.
What? I would be having chills now if AOC was able to say that on the floor. Nancy Pelosi didn't bring Medicare for all to the floor. She didn't bring a defund the police bill to the floor. She didn't bring a bill to the floor that said cutting the military by $200 billion. She didn't bring a bill to the floor about she didn't bring none of these things. And then AOC would go on the floor. Speaker, I rise because you are not in compliance with what you agreed to, but we don't have that ability to do that because the squad is weak and timid.
I rise today to serve notice. Mr. Speaker, you are out of compliance with the agreement that allowed you to assume this role. The path forward for the House of Representatives is to either bring you into immediate total compliance or remove you pursuant to a motion to vacate the chair. I rise today to serve notice.
What if this was AOC? I know it's open.
You are out of compliance with the
You are out of compliance if this was AOC
role.
to
The
Mama
path
Bear.
forward for the House of Representatives is to either bring you into immediate.
Thing is, he brought the impeachment inquiry. They don't think that's enough. Why can't we get militant people like this? He gives them something, and he's like, this ain't good enough, motherfucker. It's time for you to get going. Instead, we get people talking about some mama bear shit. Here's this clown. Look at this. This is Jamal Bowman, the cowardice coon. Holy cow. All hell is breaking loose on the floor of the House. Matt Gaetz is threatening to launch a mutiny. Mutiny against Kevin McCarthy and oust him from power. To the Speaker of the House, this is what you created. You are the worst kind of coward, and now you reap what you sow. You see how they call, this is what democracy's supposed to look like. These reps are supposed to be doing this. These reps supposed to have the control over the speaker. But when you have that, you have simping, ruling class simping clowns like Jamal Bowman is pointing out the opposite. So let's see. This is a longer video of the one we were just watching. It's 22 seconds. So he says the first part that he said in the 22-second video we just watched, and then he continues. Let's watch this video. It's a minute 45 seconds.
On this very floor in January, the whole world witnessed a historic contest for House Speaker. I rise today to serve notice. Mr. Speaker, you are out of compliance with the agreement that allowed you to assume this role.
Fucking
the path
clowns. I'm going to be in the background. I'm still here talking, but let's put the video on the big screen.
Total compliance or remove you pursuant to a motion.
Remove your ass.
We have had no vote on term limits or on balanced budgets as the agreement demanded and required. There's been no full release of the January 6 tapes as we promised. There has been insufficient account.
Wow, listen to the stuff he's now. Imagine if AOC and the squad was able to do that. Hey, there has not been any vote on Medicare for all or single payer. Hey, there hasn't been no vote for cutting the military budget by $200 billion. None of that. So listen to the list that he says here. And Jamal Bowman posted this as if this is bad. Jamal Bowman posted this as if this is bad, when this is exactly what we should be requiring our reps to do, is this.
Today to serve notice. Mr. Speaker, you are out of compliance with the agreement that allowed you to assume this role. The path forward for the House of Representatives is to either bring you into immediate total compliance or remove you pursuant to a motion to vacate the chair. We have had no vote on term limits or on balanced budgets as the agreement demanded.
Term limits. They're demanding term limits. Now they're demanding balanced budget initiative. They're demanding that, but term limits. The Freedom Caucus is making the squad look like complete buffoons at this politics game.
And required. There's been no full release of the January 6 tapes as you promised.
There's been no release of the January 6 tapes as you promised. This is how you're supposed to interact with your speaker. Like this. Not calling her mama bear and taking pictures with her on the cover of GQ. That's what you don't do. This is how you're supposed to treat the speaker. Let's continue and close out the stream. Actually,
there has been insufficient accountability for the Biden crime family, and instead of cutting spending to raise the debt limit, you relied on budgetary gimmicks and rescissions, so that you ultimately ended up serving as the valet to underwrite Biden's debt and advance his spending agenda. Mr. Speaker, you boasted in January that we would use the power of the subpoena and the power of the purse. But here we are, 8 months later, and we haven't even sent the first subpoena to Hunter Biden. That's how you know that the rushed and somewhat rattled performance you just saw from the speaker isn't real. At this point, during Democrat control over the House of Representatives, they had already brought in Don Jr. 3 times, and we haven't even sent the first subpoena to Hunter Biden. Power of the subpoena and power of the purse. Only thing the 118th Congress is known for at this point is electing Kevin McCarthy speaker and underwriting Biden's debt. And unfortunately, there's only one of those things we can remediate at this time. Power of the purse.
This is what a militant rep looks like. This is what people expected from the squad, but we're getting it from these right-wing clowns like Matt Gaetz. We have such a spineless group of people representing the so-called left in elected politics. So spineless.